Good morning, guys. How are you? Hope you're all okay. Right, was it update 4, update 5 of Joe's group build? Now then, as you can see, I'm currently holding my tablet, so you'll have to excuse the bad camera angles. I've had to stick this on the bed because, as you can see, it is extremely long, the diorama. As you can see, let's just have a quick look and go in over there. The three vehicles are actually on. So you've got the T-34, we'll start from the top, you've got the KV-1, the T-34 Tamiya, and then the T-34 Mine Plough Zvezda kit. Then coming down here, you've got the, I think it's a Talieri motorcycle and sidecar. Then you've got the Tamiya Hanonag, and that is it for the vehicles. Obviously what's missing at the minute is the figures, which the figures will go on, obviously, but I think there's about 20 I've got to do new enough, perhaps a few more. So you know, they aren't there. I've only done about 8 of them so far, constructed them, but not even, I think there's about 5 that have got paint on and that's it, but not even finished them neither yet. So there you go. So let's take a quick look, a bit closer look. Excuse, like I say, guys, just excuse the old terrible footage. This is my first attempt at a burnt out vehicle, as you can see. So what I've done is, let's get a bit of a pointy thing, i.e. the Mark 1 pencil. So basically what I did is here, like I said in my previous video, I cut the sides off, which one of them's here. I took the bit, broke the tracks, as they're just the rubber band ones, and took that off the wheel as well. Then I actually set fire to the kit. All the younger viewers out here, I wouldn't recommend it, but I did it outside, and it had water and everything ready just in case. And then I sort of heated a metal sort of screwdriver and just pushed that through, as though the shells hit it and gone straight through and through the other end. I've added a few bits of like weeds or trees, whatever you want to call them, courtesy of bees. I've rusted and put some shell sort of like bullet holes in the MG guard, and then added some pigments, rust there, and also on the sides of where it's sort of blown up there. This was spray painted with I think it was Tamiya or Vallejo Air black, and then added pigments on, and then I added pigments and sort of oil and petrol stains to the bottom there, and then pigments onto the bottom of the snow there, and added a bit onto the tree, the fallen tree here. Let's go over to here. I rusted the excess board, the metal that's come off to the side here, and the track. Now I know a lot of these vehicles, the crew used to just strip all the guns off them and the armour. So what I've done is I've taken the guns off, but I've left one just there. I've rusted one of the back doors too. The trees are all just like come out the garden and stuff that I've cut down and added to. There's a petrol stain that I've added here, which is MIG stuff, oil and fuel stains. There's going to be 2 figures here, well, 1 figure here holding his hands up as though he's just been caught and this has just happened. I'm going to play with the idea of adding some cotton wool, just make it look like it's just smoking slightly, and then I'm going to have another sort of German soldier here hiding, as hoping not to be seen, and then I'm going to have like a Russian soldier as though he's coming round the back to sort of get him, and then there's going to be one sort of pointing a gun, or a couple of them that are going to be on that tank there, not so much this tank, and then perhaps one here standing here and there that's going to be sort of pointing the guns at him, because obviously with this being a mine clearing one, they wouldn't have tank riders on there, It's my first attempt at snow camouflage, the winter whitewash. I've used the AK, let me just hang on a sec. I've used the AK heavy chipping fluid, sprayed it a couple of times, then put Tamiya white on. It's not flat white, it's just normal white. The mine plough, I've attempted to do something different. I've actually blended these colours using the airbrush and then chipped it, obviously hand, with Vallejo Air steel. But what I've done is I did this reverse, and I put the rust colours down first, and then I added what would have been the base coat on afterwards, and sort of blended it in with the airbrush. And to be fair, I mean, we're never quite happy with our own work, but I am really happy with that bit of work for myself. Going on to the winter whitewash here, I think it's come out alright with it being my first attempt. It is hard work on your hand, especially scrubbing away with that instead of using the normal hairspray. But I suppose that's what it's supposed to do. But yeah, it's okay. I haven't weathered it yet properly. Before I did all this, I've given the turret and that a silver dry brushing because I wanted it. Obviously, I wanted this to be a bit of an older T-34. As you can tell, it's the old. Those of you in the know, this is the old turret, the original first release T-34 turrets. So I've sort of really gone to work with the dry brushing on it, make it look really, worn a bit, and I've added sort of freehand camo on top of that, as though the crew didn't really have time to do that, so they've had to spray it on quickly. The crew are going to be inside this tank, obviously, because they would have been just coming to sort of clear all this out the way and whatever else. And then, of course, as you can, I don't know if you can see, but I've sort of put in some tyre marks here, as though like the motorbike sort of tried to escape from them, and it sort of had an accident and it's tipped over. The tracks and that aren't done yet. These Zvezda tracks were terrible, as you can see here. They do not hold the paint at all very well. I've damaged the wheels, sort of taken chips out of them and chunks out of them with my X-Acto blade. The saw and everything here is all done with just normal chipping and that, with the rust colours. Go around to the back of the vehicle. Again, there's not much done on that yet, but it will be. Then we come on to the Tamiya one. Great typical Tamiya kit. Again, I've gone to work on the turret. As you can see, it's a sort of a new, more modern sort of T-34 turret. However, I've sort of really, again, gone to work with the steel on it. I wanted it to look really worn, and you can actually, I don't know if you'll be able to see here. Let me just put you on pause a minute, guys. Right, sorry guys, just turn the other light on. And what I've done is I've really gone to work and dry brushed the actual texture as well to bring that out slightly. I mean, in natural light you can see it, you can't see it too well here. Again, this hasn't been weathered properly yet, just chipped slightly and dry brushed. Now, I did do a lot of research on the T-34s, and I found that when they were coming out of the factories, they didn't have, because Stalin didn't sort of order them to attack the Germans all that quickly when the Germans were attacking them in Stalingrad and wherever else. They were literally, the Germans were literally on top of the factories, and the factory workers in some towns and cities were actually forced to defend themselves. So a lot of the T-34s were just rolled out were just basically steel coloured and iron coloured, so they didn't have time to sort of paint them, and the base colour underneath the green was actually a khaki sort of brown colour, and that was the original on a lot of T-34's colour, which I didn't realise. So what I've done here is I've tried to make it look like this one's sort of been rushed out of the factory. So it's a fairly new one, but they've sort of like just sort of rushed the paint, and because this is going to have a lot of crew and figures coming on the back and riders coming off the back of this, it's worn quite a bit already. Because I also know that on the research I was doing, that the paint that they actually used, the Russians, because of obviously the supplies were very minimal, was really cheap of cheap. So, and it was really watered down as well. And they said that the chipping on these things was quite extreme. So I've sort of left this plate here. I've coloured this plate, this front fender here, steel. So it's sort of been forgotten about. So that's going to have a little bit of rust on, but not too much, because like I say, it's going to be sort of fairly fresh out of the factory. That's why I haven't sort of damaged these fenders or anything on this one yet. I'm going to add a few pigments and that onto the tracks, so they look a bit more rusted. And I'm not going to whitewash this one. I'm going to leave this one. I thought I might do it, but as you'll see on the KV in a minute, I've done an actual camouflage colour on that one, which is a bit different. So I've added the rubber tyres, mixture of rubber tyres and steel wheels on this. Again, same as the Zvezda one, I haven't done any sort of steel markings or anything on the tracks yet. I have actually dry brushed them. I don't know if you just pick up on the sides there, and then on the main tracks they've been dry brushed, but there's literally nothing being added onto the tracks or anything yet, which I'll show you in a minute when we go back to the bench. I'll show you a bit closer, and I'll show you what I mean by I've mixed the tyres up too. The KV was an older sort of kit that I've just added onto this, because a lot of these convoys, the T-34s, were joined by the KV-1s, because the KV-1s were apparently a lot heavier sort of tank. So but they used to get picked off a lot easier than T-34s. So I've added a KV-1 to it, and as you can see, the camouflage was done, which I found in the AK Russian camouflages from the World War II's and a book that I've got, and it's really good. And I saw this one and I thought, I quite like that sort of camouflage. So this one's all been weathered and done. I've added the rust, as you can see. This was sort of done a few months ago, so it was in a way as well a slightly rushed job, but it doesn't look too bad. I've added on this a bit more, I've taken a bit of the snow off, I've added a bit of mud to the wheels, and a bit of mud to the snow to the tracks, and then I've sort of pigmented the gun barrel too, so that's done. So yeah, it's okay. They're going to have tank riders and figures on the back of that one as well. So there you go. So that is the Dio so far. It hasn't changed all that much since the last one, so I'll just put you on pause and we'll go to the bench and have a closer look at the vehicles. Okay guys, so I've changed the sort of angle of this, so see how it works out. So we can see if we can get a lot closer sort of view of the vehicles. I can't use the turntable, the Tamiya turntable I've got, because I'm actually using that for the camera that's on now. Now then, I don't know if you can see, but there's a lot more chipping. Let me see if I can move this. Let's see if I can move this over so you can get a bit more of a better sort of lighting on it. I don't know if that helps anymore, but yeah, so you've got like I say, I need to do a bit more work on the tracks here, and then also put some pigments on. I don't know whether I'm going to pigment with gunmetal on the wheels or not, I don't know, but I need to also, I'm going to add a bit of oil weathering onto this, a few streaks on the turret, and then I'm going to add a bit of sort of pigments onto the spare track links on the front. This is, like I say earlier, this is my first attempt at the winter whitewash, and it's okay. It's not fantastic, as you can see. I've got a bit on the tracks here, but again, we can just make that look as though it's snow, and that's not a massive problem. I'm going to add, obviously, pigments onto the exhausts and rust them slightly, and add a few pigment sort of smoke stains down there. I've taken the rear fender off there, so it's damaged, and also left that one but bent it slightly. That I've put the Russian star, I don't know if you can see just slightly there underneath the gun barrel, and I've damaged the front fenders, bent them up slightly here and at the front there as well of that one. I've used copper wiring for the aerial, which is good, because if I'd used stretch sprue, I would have completely snapped it off God knows how many times, because I've snapped that off twice already. So, and I think I snapped the other one off the other one quite a bit as well. So yeah, that's that. That's the Zvezda KV, Zvezda T-34. God, I'm thick. Don't you say anything, Halliday. Right, so there you go. There's that one. Right, and then we come on to the Tamiya one. Let's have a look if this is any better. That's a bit better, isn't it? Okay, so this is the Tamiya one. As I said, I've really dry brushed the turret so you can get the cast texture out of it. It's a sort of the modern, the sort of late edition of the T-34 turret. I'm going to have a driver in here sticking his head out, so that's why I've left the hatch up on that. Not much really to say apart from what I've done already and said. As you can see on this side, I've added a few more steel wheels and just one with the rubber tyre on that side. And on this side, I've added the 3 rubber tyres and 2 steel wheels. I've left, like I said earlier, the plate, the front fender here, uncoloured, just to see what it's like. It seems okay, it doesn't look too bad. And then the tracks, these weren't actually too bad, these Tamiya tracks, the rubber tracks, although they wouldn't stick together properly, so I had to use super glue, and then I've used super glue to attach them to the top of the wheels, because there's about 2mm gap from the top of the wheels, so it just didn't look right. And then after looking at research pictures and that, the tracks did actually sort of sink a bit, but there was no sag in between the road wheels, so that's that. I'm thinking I'm going to need to just add a bit of dust pigment over this tarp and bedroll, especially that one as well, because they look a bit shiny, and they've had a couple of matte coats already. And if I give it any more matte coats, I'm going to run the risk of the sort of the white, powdery, snowy look on it, which I suppose won't look too bad on this Diorama, but you know, I don't want that, because you'll be able to tell it's the matte. The matte gloss. So there you go, turret turns and everything, which is good. Yeah, lovely kit, Tamiya, so you know, typical. So that's that one. So the figures I'm using for it, which are not, the figures are basically, I'll show you where we are with the figures. The figures are these. These are the Tamiya crew, which I've had to clean up. These two here. This one, the detail on him is really good. I showed you in the last update. If you'll be able to pick that up, but the detail is very, very good on this one. I've had to clean him up slightly. Again, the detail on these mini art figures are very good, but they just had to have a little bit of filler on, well, I'll say a little bit, quite a bit of filler in them and sprue glue. So, but they're not the worst of figures I've done. They're just the sort of smocks around the hats and the scarves around their heads just did not fit at all. There was a lot of sanding that needed to be doing and filling around there. But again, and then of course there's the different story is next is trying to get the weapons to fit as well. So I shall do a bit of modernising with them and all that type of stuff. But yeah, they're okay. The figure set is this one for the Snow Riders 2017 kit, so you'd expect it a little bit better. And then the Russian one was from this set, the Tamiya one. This is a great set, as I keep saying in every update. It's 12 figures in it for 11 quid. So you do get value for money in that. And then the other figure set that I will be adding is this one. The Master Box one, Accident. I shall be using these two figures from it. I was going to use possibly these, and then I decided I'm going to use one of them or two of them, and now I've decided I'm not going to use any, because if you look, it says summer, and I've researched and these are actually in summer sort of outfits, so I can't really do that. The Germans, well, I'm not too worried about them too much, so, but he's the one that's going to be hiding around the back of the Hanomag, and this one's going to be the one at the front. So the one that's going to be hiding has got a couple of options. You've either got him with the pistol or you've got him with the MG. So I'm not sure which one yet, but I'm definitely going to do one or the other, like I say. So it's probably going to be the one with the MG. I think I quite like that one. And then of course the one that's sort of giving himself up. Well, that's it, guys. That's the update today for Joe's build. I'm sorry it's taken a bit of a while, a week or so, to get this video one out of the way. Oh, I've got some of the weapons done too. Let's just show you some of these. As you can see, the weapons are very, very small. These are the ones for the snowy tank riders. The PPSs, I've done two different versions. I've done the one with the straight ammo mags, pouches, and also this the CD disc ammo sort of pouches, but the detail on them is very good again. I started to make slings for them, just using a bit of it's not Tamiya tape, it's Slumdog, it's called, sorry, Jammy Dog tape. It's the 0.5mm stuff, so I used that for my weapons slings, and it does look quite good. It's okay. It's quite tough as well, and then I just super glue it to the end of the weapon. That one I did a bit too much, but I shall sort of put a bit of super glue onto it, or extra thin, to mount it and sort of press it into the weapon itself, and it should sort of look okay, which I've done before and it's worked. So yeah, but that's it, guys. So that's the update so far. That's update number 4 or 5, I think. It's 4, but if you look on my channel, I think there's actually 5 videos. I did a little 2-3 minute one when the other tablet had decided to die. Anyway, guys, I hope you're all well. I hope you all stay safe, and may the force be with you.